Hello everyone, just to let you know, if I did not install any gasket between the pump and the tube, hydraulic pump and the tube. It connects here with 3 bolts and also in the bottom 3 bolts. I just used a little bit what you call the ultra black, little bit tiny on the edges. But I did make a gasket when I was installing this side attached to the block. I made this gasket because when I removed it, I found that it has, whenever I'm making video, things happen. Alright, so this is the old gasket, came out of it. So I know there was a gasket, so I built one. I did not have it in my kit, and the paper I used, gasket paper, was the thickness for the specs, I would say this way, is, come on, 1/64 inch. That's how thick this paper is. So don't forget to make a gasket for this part when you attach the hydraulic pump with the block. That's all. Just want to show you this side valve cover gasket, this long rectangular shape. This is the old one I removed, and it doesn't have a pocket, a rectangular opening on this gasket, but the one I received in my kit, gasket kit, does have one somewhere here, a small rectangular opening. So I'm not sure what it is for, but that's the difference. Today I also added 4 new bolts. These bolts, I'm going to show you. This light is not enough. But this one, let me see if it focuses. So this one connects this bell plate, or the rear end plate, which is in the middle of the engine block and the gearbox. This bolt holds this plate together, and also there is one on top right here. So this one is 5/8. I could not find 16, so I installed 5/8/11, 2-inch long, with a split washer and a nut. The hole for this bolt is good for 5/8. However, the bottom one is also 2-inch long, but it is 3/4 inch thick, because the hole in the bottom is 3/4 wide. So it is still have a little wiggle room, but do not install 5/8 here. This is 3/4, and this one is 5/8, and this one I installed 5/8/16 bolt. So just to be sure, you know what you're doing. This actually, the purpose of these bolts is to keep the engine block together with the gearbox. And the same thing is done, 2 more bolts on this left side. So all together this engine block is connected with the gearbox, is with the how many, number 1, 2 and 3 bolts, on big bolts on one side and 3 on other side, and there are 2 more on top. These are I believe 7/16, and also 2 7/16 right here. So 4 7/16, 2 5/8/16, and the one I couldn't find, so I installed 2 3/4 2-inch and 2 5/8/11 2-inch long. So altogether like 4 and 4 8 bolts, big and small altogether. That's all. Hello everyone. Last one I did install water pump and return for coolant. These two accessories I installed. Also I installed the alternator, since this engine was already converted into 12 volt. I did tighten the bolts, those bolts, this one, and on the other side also. I did install the coil retainer. I installed the breather, the blowback breather, I believe I would say, and I did not install the plugs yet. The reason is I have to rotate the engine to match the timing when I'm going to install the distributor. The distributor is not installed. The radiator right now is sitting outside, and this needs to be serviced, repaired, because now everything is good, new, but radiator is not. I don't want to gasket to go bad, so I will either have it repaired if it's cheaper, or spend some money and buy the new replacement one. This is it. Also, what I need to do is the tappet valve clearance. I need to adjust. I did not adjust. The cover is just sitting over here just to protect it from dirt. So this is the last thing I need to do. Not last thing, but this is the one I need to set the clearance. The reason I did not do it, because I'm going to show you, let me see if it's right. I'm going to make in next video, I'll show you when I'm going to do the clearance adjustment. The adjuster bolt is not the one which comes with nut and bolt that you can adjust the clearance with the screwdriver and loosen the nut. This is the self adjuster, so it's one thing, one piece bolt, very tight, and I was expecting the nut and bolt for the setup. So I'll show you what is the difference for this engine. That's why I did not do the clearance adjustment before. I found out that is a little different. It comes in two different adjuster nut configuration, I believe. So the one I have is different. So as many things I'm finding, not many things, at least some few things I found that are different for this engine than I have seen in other YouTube videos for the repair of the similar engine. 600, and this is 640, Ford 640. It was built, I believe, between 1955 and 1957. However, the earlier model may have different, or the later model I found, like for 2000 series engine, one of the YouTube videos I saw, it has the similar tappet clearance bolt. So I will show you in my next video, but this is what it is, why I'm waiting. I think everything is ready. Also, one more thing I want to tell you is, when you install a alternator or do the conversion, even after conversion, there are some alternator which comes with different fan. This one is different, and because of the difference, if you see the distance between this fan and this adjustment brace, if you have a wrong size belt, shorter or longer diameter or circumference, you may not have enough clearance, so it's going to touch this. So one belt I ordered with other accessories that is little longer, maybe ½ inch. It did not work. This one I eyeball it with a lot of back and forth visits to the tractor shop, and this is the one I found and replaced. And so you have to be careful when you are upgrading or changing the alternator. Make sure the fan configuration is aligned with you, what is the length of the belt. So this is something that needs to be figured out before, because not every belt will work with these alternators. So the one I have is a little shorter, maybe ½ inch to 3/4. So that's why it is like this. What else? When I install the fan, water pump, I've tried to clean it up inside with the rust remover and all those things. I did the painting, if you see it's painted now, but it may need another repair. I'm not sure it has a bearing inside or not, but I felt there is some kind of light noise, but I just want to make it work first, and then I will worry about later other further things. So this one I'm showing you the 640 and 111766 diamond. It starts, the number starts always like diamond 111766 diamond 640. And since I'm not the first owner for sure, so I may suspect if someone upgrade, they can leave the engine block like this, but rear part is coming from other model, similar model. So this is not, I do not trust when you own a very old engine which has changed several hands ownerships. So but I think I'm okay. So this is 640, and these are like different serial numbers. It has 6085 35H, so maybe someone has changed the head, may have changed the block, may have changed the gearbox, or may have changed the rear end part, which is basically the axle. So many things can happen, but I'm okay with what I have. So today I'm planning to install the manifold, and the gasket I have is this from my gasket kit. This gasket has two sides, and this needs to be installed in a correct side. The smooth side will go towards the block with the smooth surface, and the bumpy side will go towards the manifold. That's the orientation I found from one more video on YouTube, how to install this gasket. So that's what it is. Before doing that, as I do with other things, whenever I find these holes to install studs or bolts, I use the kit I have to clear these holes. I cleared the threads, tap and die kit. I bought it from Harbor Freight. So far it's working perfect for me. So many stuff in it, and that's the one I use. So as I'm going to install different parts, I'm actually making sure wherever, at least for those holes where I need to torque to the spec, I'm making sure it's clean, out of paint or debris or any other grime has in it. I'm making sure it's clean so I can torque it to the spec. So all these studs needs to be installed. I have it separately before sending to the machine shop. I'm going to install those first, and then I will install the manifold. Also, here something else will go. I have to see the older videos what was that. I don't remember. This one needs to be I have to see what needs to be there. Maybe just a plug or something else. There's another threaded hole. Something needs to be installed. I will check what it is. What else? I'm also thinking to install, if you see under the tractor, I have the fuel tank. I'm going to brush the tank, and I will see if I can install the flexible hose fuel line instead of this hard copper wire, so I can make the distance shorter and maybe it's easier for later repairs. This hard line is very difficult to handle when I was actually unassembling it. Also, I need to see one place. This hole is for the temperature gauge sensor that needs to be installed and connected with the gauge. I think there's one more place where a L-shape so if you see this, there is one plug, and there is another plug, and there's another plug, there's another plug. So I think I need to find out where the oil pressure gauge will be installed. I know there was one L type plug or connector. I have to check. So these are things I left it for later. This one I know is a cover for the timing marks hole or inspection hole. That needs to be installed. Distributor, I will do it later at the end, because what I'm planning is put the hex key here inside, use the drill machine and fill the oil pan with the oil, and then circulate that oil with the drill machine into the entire engine without starting it. Rinse the oil filter for a couple days, filled with oil, so the filter will be soaked with oil, so it will be easier to prime the oil pump if I already soak it. That's my theory. So it's not gonna, I'm not gonna run the same day, so at least I will let it soak, circulate the oil everywhere in the engine. I should be able to see the oil is coming up all the way up to the valve assembly on the top. I'll inspect. So idea is to circulate the oil everywhere without starting the engine. I'm going to put back the rear if it's not stopping me to do remaining steps. So anything I can do it this side, put it back together, I'll do it. I know when I was cleaning up this friction disc for the throttle, I put some grease under this plate, this one, so it's easier to twist. But later I found out this is a friction disc, it shouldn't supposed to move freely. So I will check what is the purpose. So I have to wipe it, unassemble it and wipe off the excess grease, so it's not really freely So what I'm thinking is, so if you see this whole thing, it moves freely. So it was too tight before. I believe it should not be too tight, it should not be free, it should be medium. So with the touch of the finger, I should be adjust throttle in different position with very small steps. That's the idea. So yeah, these are several things I have in my mind. Before I proceed to put back, I'm going to follow these. Otherwise it's coming along, it's a little slow, a lot of chores besides this project. So it needs to be left clean, so I don't want to get dirty. That's all, folks. I will come back again with the next video. Bye. Hello everyone. Today I'm going to install the intake exhaust manifold on this side, and that needs to be installed on these studs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. These studs are dual-sided, mean they have threads on both sides, and middle part there is a neck. I don't know what's the technical term I should use. A flat side, non-threaded. This stud, there are 6 of them. This stud, let me zoom. This side, my finger side, this one is 7/16 14, and the nut side is 7/16 20 pitch for the threads, and this 7/16 20 will be outside, and this side will be inside the head. However, this needs to be installed. These doesn't need to be really tight. All they do is to hold the manifold, and all you need to do is, or I will at least torque it to 20 foot-pound to the head, which is not too much, but I think I couldn't find how much I should do, or I did not actually attempt it properly, but that's what I'm doing. All these 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 are torqued 20 foot-pound, and these 2 are remaining. I'm going to show you, probably you already know how to install these. These are not regular bolts, these are studs, and how to install these studs and torque it. So you will know how to do that, and the method I'm going to use is the double nut. I have this spare nut. It's a grade 5. I bought it just for this 7/16 20 thread. Anyway, yeah, and I'm going to use this double nut, and the way I'm going to do is I'm going to install the additional nut as a head of the bolt, and then tight it with the specs, and then loose it and remove it so they can stay. Let me try how I'm doing it. Hope that will help. I don't know. I hope it will do the justice. Alright, now I focus it, and the way I'm going to do is I'm going to install this nut on this side, hand tight, just to start the thread. I have not used any grease. I forgot, I should be using anti-freeze on this stud. I have not used it, so let's see. But anyway, so this is how you're gonna do it. So the first nut, which is the original nut, needs to go all the way.
and I'm going to install the second nut on top of it, and then okay, I don't know how it's going to do. Let me see if something can hold this for me.
I'm trying to focus it. This thing is very stubborn. Come on, stay, puppy.
Alright, and so one is the inside one. I'm going to back it up, like loosen, and the outer one I'm going to tight, so like this and like this. I think it's good enough. Now I'm going to use this ratchet just to tight enough. Once it cannot go anymore, then I will use the, now I don't see the thread anymore from the front of the stud is already inside the head. Now I'm getting resistance, so I'm going to use the torque bar to tight it to 20 foot-pound, and this is how I'm going to do. This is not very expensive bar, and I am not getting 20. I will see what did I do.
There's a sound of something cracked and broke and dropped. I don't know what is it.
So I'll keep doing it. And here we go. I got 20 foot-pound. I'm going to lose these nuts, and there it is. And there's a technique I'm using to remove these nuts. If I use too much pressure, then the stud will also lose. So I am not going to do that. However, I'm going to hold like this, like V shape, with one hand like this, okay, like this, and so both I'm trying to pull it together, and but instead of using force, I'm going to use some jerk here. So that's it. Just easy peasy. Alright. This is good. Now the same thing I'm going to do to this one. And make sure there is still some threads left behind this nut, so there is a room. Instead of if it gets tight, then you have to lose it again, or you won't be able to lose the nut without losing the stud. So you will learn. It's an easy technique. I have done it so many times long time ago, and I still remember this. Okay, so now this time I'm going to do the same thing. Alright. Alright. Good enough. Now first I will use my hands, see if I can go. Actually it's not a good idea to do it. Just use the wrench or ratchet. So all threads are in. Now I'm going to tighten. Good enough. I'll use the torque bar. And there we go. Let's see. 20. I got it 20. Alright. Now, last one. I'm going to remove this nut. Same way. Make a V. V. Alright. And it's like not too wide V. Or at least you should have big hands. Alright, got it. Done, easy peasy. There are other stuff, tools available to install studs, but this technique works all the time. Alright. That's all. Now all 6 are ready. I'm going to install the gasket and that's it. Hello folks. As you can see, I'm back to the tractor, and today after installing the manifold on the head, I am about to set the clearance for the rocker arm assembly. The clearance between each rocker arm and the valve stem where it meets the valve, and I'm going to use this feeler gauge, and according to the spec this has to be 0.015. I'm trying to focus it. 0.015 or 0.38 mm. There's a clearance for both. It's intake and exhaust valve. And if you don't remember, the middle two one, I'm actually holding a manual and a couple of other things. So, alright, let me tell you which one is exhaust and which one is intake. When you have not unassembled it, you can identify by extra cap, metal cap between the rocker and the valve. This is a steel cap on the exhaust, only on exhaust valve. This one, and the extreme right one, the right and left one, they have these metal cap. The intake one doesn't have these, so these are intake and these are intake. So 4 intake, 4 exhaust, 2 exhaust in the middle, one on the left, one on the right, and between those we have 2 intake and 2 intake. So before this video, shooting this video, I was actually trying to adjust it on my own. I should have done it. You should have read the manual first. Somewhere on the YouTube it says, hey, set it to set the flywheel marking on 0. This means cylinder 1 is in combustion cycle, so both valve will be closed all the way, and I was just doing it without paying attention. But now after struggling, because as soon as I fix one and rotate, I see a difference clearance on the previous one, so I was saying that something is wrong. However, now I'm going to show you. I have the manual in front of me. I'm trying to find a better place where I can put it, you can see, or I can put it right here. Oh, that's nice. Okay, this is a manual, and on the manual it tells you how to set the valve clearance and in which order. So this chart on figure 30, it says first number 1 cycle and number 1 cylinder. I can set this number 1 cylinder exhaust and number 3 intake. Then I will go number 1 cylinder intake and 2 exhaust, 2 intake, 4 exhaust, 3 exhaust, 4 intake. Then this is how you're gonna so valve open, these valve will be open, number 1 will be open. So that's the chart you have to follow, and the instruction says refer to the figure 30 and make an initial valve adjustment as indicated in the chart. Install the intake and exhaust manifold, new gasket, blah blah blah. So make sure you take this snapshot of this. I will try to include in my video. So that's what it is, and this is the torque spec for the headboards. Alright, so I'm going to follow this, and once I'm done I will make next video. Bye.